Royal Enfield currently have two Bullets in their lineup, the Bullet 350 and the newly unveiled Bullet 650. Now they dropped the news of the Bullet 650 at EICMA during their 125th anniversary celebrations, and the hype machine hasn't slowed down since. So before we get inundated with 650 thumbnails and Bullet 650 first ride impressions, I just want to step back, slow it down a little bit and just focus on the original platform that Royal Enfield's Bullet built its reputation on. So without further ado, I'm going to throw my leg over this bad boy and give it a ride. So if you're interested in that, definitely keep watching. The Royal Enfield Bullet 350 comes in two trims here in the UK, standard black at £4,629 and the black gold, which you see here, at £4,709. A few differences, but each has its own character. Underneath them both is the same heart, a 349cc J-Series engine, single cylinder, air and oil cooled, producing 20.2 horsepower at 6,100 RPM and 27 Nm of torque at 4,000 RPM. It is fuel injected, runs a 5-speed gearbox and delivers its power smoothly and predictably. The chassis is a twin down tube spine design with 41mm telescopic forks up front and twin shocks at the rear with a 6-step preload adjustment. The seat height of this is 805mm. It has a wet weight of 195 kilos, which gives the Bullet a solid planted feeling. The tank holds 13 litres and that's perfectly suited to the relaxed long ride style this bike encourages. It runs on spoked wheels, 190/19 at the front and 120/80/18 at the rear, with braking handled by a 300mm disc and a twin piston caliper up front, and a 270mm disc at the back with a single piston caliper, all backed by dual channel ABS. Then there are practical touches. A USB charging port mounted below the handlebar, and depending on the trim, those classic Royal Enfield pinstripe details. On the standard, they're hand painted, while the black gold uses distinctive copper pinstriping to match its 3D tank badge. Straightforward, solid and easy to live with, that's what the Bullet 350 is built for. Time to ride.
Okie dokie, right, woo, bumpy bumpy. Slippy cobbles, love that for me. Guys and girls, I am out on the Bullet 350, of course, another bike that I'm super late to the party with. I mean, this bike is not a new bike, I'm pretty sure it came out in, I want to say 2023, but yeah, the Bullet 350, Royal Enfield's longest bike in production. What a claim. And yeah, today I'm riding the 350. I hope the camera is clear enough because it's a very, very knobbly. But of course we have that kind of, soft, sloppy-ish suspension that we've come to love on these 350 bikes from Royal Enfield, which I can imagine make the roads of India and places like that more manageable. So we have that 350 air and oil cooled single cylinder putter that does produce a very, very modest 20 brake horsepower, 20.2 if you want to be precise. And this bike is just a proper lovely plodder bike in my opinion. It's just so cute, so sweet. The engine is that of a peach, and yeah, really, really like all of the 350s, the Royal Enfield 350s that I've ridden. I think most recently we've got the Goan Classic, and that's kind of like the Classic but with a more upturned seat and kind of a nicer, neater back end in my opinion, and higher bars. I'm yet to ride that, but looks good on first impressions. Now this is, quite similar to the classic 650 kind of cockpit that I've ridden before, except on that this is kind of a tripper from memory. But we've got the analog dash, we've got the LCD little dash there that just tells you what your fuel is and whether you're riding it economically with that little eco, and your odometer, trip, stuff like that. But a very simplistic, very uncomplicated motorcycle to ride. And you know what, I think that is a massive part of its charm. You know, we're in an era, an age, the age of information. That sounds cool, is that right? Are we in the age of information? I don't know, but we're basically in an age where everything's so technologically advanced. It's a rat race with manufacturers who can build the most high-tech machine, whether that's radar cruise or, you know, all kinds of crazy electronic suspension and stuff like that. But Royal Enfield, they really don't have that approach, and I feel like that used to be seen as maybe a bit of a negative, because everyone was like, oh, it's behind the times, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that. But nowadays I feel like a simple, less complicated machine is actually becoming more appreciated. And also it's nice to have that option where manufacturers are, you know, trying to beat each other in the features and the technological stakes. It's nice to have a bike that you feel like you can have in your garage, you feel like you can kind of work on it yourself should you need to. It's not a complicated engine, it's not got complicated electrics. I think the most complicated and techie feature on this is dual channel ABS, so it's not saying much, is it? I do feel like for those that say, you know, it's not powerful enough, it's too underpowered, one, they've either bought the wrong bike, or two, they haven't even bought the bike and it's not something that they would ever get on and appreciate anyway. So their opinion's a little bit pointless because they just want power. And that's fine, but that's not everybody's opinion. Not everybody wants masses of power. Some people are happy with 20 brake horsepower, you know, a decent amount of torque, because I guess that's what's so lovely about this, is even though it doesn't have a lot of horsepower, it's got enough kind of grunt to just make you feel like, you know, you can pull out things safely, you can pull out junctions safely, you can get up to speed with that torque that's available really, really low down from like 4,000 RPM. And although you can't see that because there's no rev counter, you do kind of just get an ear for it after time with this engine.
Take the next left onto Dickinson Lane, B5239.
It says take the next left, so the next left we shall take. Second gear, it's a 40, let's wind it on. Oh, the engine, it does sound quite nice. You know, it could quite easily sail past that 40 mile an hour speed limit if you let it, so it's not that it's struggling or anything like that, but we have to behave, of course. But no, it's lovely to ride. The cockpit is really, really pretty. You've almost kind of got like a little bit of an upside down heart. There. You know, everything's contained quite nicely. The switchgear's really simplistic. You know, they've got quite chunky, how do they refer to them as? Coke bottle grips, I want to say. I suppose one of the differences between this and the HNTR 350 that I ride, you know, fairly frequently, I would say. Not frequently, but enough to have the riding experience kind of ingrained in my brain. This has an 18-inch front, whereas the HNTR 350 has a 17-inch front, so it would be quite nice to see how this handles on the country lanes, which is where I'm heading. I'm trying to find some twisties for you guys, I really am. So one thing about the Bullett's 350 is it does have a seat height of 805mm. You know, that's not a particularly tall bike, but I thought it might feel quite tall because it's got a real thick seat, like crazy thick seat, and also it's quite wide, so I thought it might splay your legs out a little bit. But I'm pleased to report actually that from a seat height perspective it's actually super manageable and I can pretty much flat foot it on both sides. I mean, I am wearing Spada piston boots that do have a bit of a heel to them, so that's obviously going to help maybe with a few centimetres. In fact, we'll see if we can see. You can see that heel, can't you? Yeah, it's a little bit, it's a little chunkaroo. But yeah, I can pretty much flat foot this bike. In fact, I can flat foot it, so. Oh, I swung round that bend lovely then. Oh yes, that was real nice. So yeah, on the topic of seat height, I will insert a little clip now of what it's like for me to sit on this bike so you can just see it with your own eyes. I am a 5'4" individual, or 162cm individual with a 29-inch inside leg measurement, or 73.66 centimeters depending on what metric you prefer. So yeah, I would say it's pretty manageable, deceptively manageable given how chunky the seat is. Now, talking of the seat, oh, it's lovely and plush. It's so lovely, it's so plush. I really like the comfort of it so far. So with the brakes on this bike, we have a single disc at the front and a Bikesure 2-piston caliper. And, you know, it brakes adequately for the speeds that you're going. You know, you're not kind of going fast enough to need stronger brakes, I would say. But if you do find yourself feeling like you want a little bit more out of them, definitely using them both together, you can get quite a strong stopping result. Let's try it now, shall we? So, yeah, see how quickly we got down to speed then? Pretty quickly. So yeah, brakes, 0 complaints with those bad boys. Suspension is nothing fancy or funky. We've got like non-adjustable 41mm telescopic forks at the front. At the rear we've got the little twin shocks. And for my weight of 9 stone, you know, I find the suspension is quite nicely damped for like kind of just bimbling around speeds. If you push on a little bit, I feel like they can get a little bit bent out of shape, you know, especially if you're really hooning. But I feel like if you wanted something like a 350 that would be a bit more capable at a good hoonage, probably go for something like the Honda GB 350. It's got good engine braking though, this thing. Got real good engine braking. I'm accelerating and then when I let off the throttle, yeah, it really slows me right down. Monkey! Sorry, I got distracted by a little monkaroo. Yeah, I can only compare it to things that I know of and that I've ridden. And the clutch is not as light as it could be. Like the GB350, that clutch is super light. You can just flick it in with one finger and it's you don't feel it at all. Whereas this is a bit more of a heavy clutch. It's not the heaviest clutch. I've known a lot heavier clutches, but by comparison to that bike, it does feel particularly heavy. But no, there is something really charming about this engine, the J series engine. It makes such a nice sound. Oh, the dog does not like the sound though. So, good for humans, bad for dogs, I think. Yeah, I'm looking forward to taking this on some twisties. I really, really am. And me being the clown I am, I've set off without my bank card. Standard procedure. But I do believe that Royal Enfield claim you can get something like 105 mpg out of this bike, and we've got half a tank, so I can't see that being problematic. I think I'm alright from a fuel perspective. We don't have a gear indicator or anything fancy. We don't have quick shifters or blippers. I don't think we have traction control, to be honest. No, we don't. But honestly, I think to me one of the highlights of the 350 range, and certainly it applies to the Bullet 350, is just how easy they are to ride. They're so uncomplicated, they're so unbothered. You know, they're just little putters. It's just very nice. Just need to find some nationales, baby. You have to wait, sir. That's not how giveaways work. We found our way onto a national. Ooh, so we got a little bit of vibration when you have it high up in the revs, as you'd expect, I guess, from single cylinder. Yes, these are wet roads. They're disconcerting. They're disconcerting. Stop, nothing behind us, that's all good. Yeah, you can feel that it isn't as agile or nimble as the HNTR 350, but it still does a good enough job of getting round the bends. It really does. Like, no complaints there, not really. And the Honda GB350, that has an 18-inch front, and that still goes around them pretty nice also. Oh, it's nice. You can still have a nice little brisk ride on the mighty J-Series 350 engine. We'll slow down for the people, for the person. But I mean, imagine just like casually walking on a national like that. Whoa. Man is crazy. Man is crazy. Oh, it handles so nice. Oh, look at the road ahead. So we've got a 5-speed gearbox. We've got one of those signs, which means they've spent money for a reason, which means it's probably quite tight. KGM. Some stuff in the road there. That's never good. Brakes were great. You know, we're still in 5th here. We're still in top gear. And after braking quite heavily, it still pulls reasonably well out of that gear on these kind of lanes. Drop down a gear. 4th. Oh, it's alright, isn't it? It's alright. You can get a little bit of a shuffle on. Drop it into 3rd there. Oh, it's got a nice soundtrack when you rev it. Oh, I tell you what, it's bloody cold today though. And you can make it stop pretty quick actually. Yeah, I'd say the brakes are actually more than adequate when combined. They're pretty flipping good. But so far, so good. Actually really enjoying myself. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? That's what it's all about. Just getting a bike that you enjoy yourself on. And a bike that you can look back at the petrol station and be like, oh yes, I own that. That's mine. Look how pretty it is. World, see this bike. It's so nice. You know, and I feel like if you like your kind of modern retros or your retro-y, oldie worldy vibe motorcycles, then you're going to look back at this at the petrol station. So, we've taken it through some town riding, some trafficy riding, some slow stuff. We've taken it on some twisties where we've been able to open it up a little, actually go up and down the box, give it a bit of a workout and see whether it can handle the twisties, and it can, as you saw, especially in these grim conditions that we have today. But we need to get on the motorway, don't we? We need to see what it's like on there. So yes, I'll re-pick up the cameras when we actually get a bit closer to a motorway. Right, so we are about to do a little stint on the motorway. A little stint on the motorway. So we will see if we can get up to motorway speeds and stay at them with ease. So I am 9 stone for reference, so it's probably going to pull me along easier than it would say Chopsy, for example. Long chop rides. Okay, so we're doing 50, winding it on. We'll pull out after this, and then we'll look. We're doing 60. We're clear. You know, we're going to go for the 3rd lane, sod it. Alright, so we're at 70, we're at motorway speeds. And it's handling it absolutely fine. I wonder if we could go a bit quicker, but the Skoda doesn't know where his accelerator pedal is, it would seem. There we go. Right, so winding it on. Do I have another gear? No, I'm in top. In 5th. So winding it on, we're still gaining speed. I'm still gaining speed. I mean, it gets a little bit more buzzy at these speeds, but I feel like that's a given. It's a single cylinder, a small capacity one at that. So yeah, I think it does alright on the motorway. It gets a big thumbs up from me. Right team, I have just pulled up from riding the Bullet 350 and I'm going to keep this quite brief because I can't really feel my hands. I've just jumped on this without wiring in my heated stuff, it's not got heated grips, and it is a very, very cold November day, so yeah, I can't wait to get home and get the kettle on. But as far as bikes go, for taking out on these kind of roads, you can see all the mushed, slippy leaves and stuff like that. Sometimes it's good not to have a crazy amount of power, because that's when things start to get a little bit bent out of shape. You know, if you lose grip or traction, and you know, things can get a little bit leery. But I feel like with a small capacity bike like this, 350cc, 20 brake horsepower, it's just lovely for having a nice little bimble round on the lanes and just taking biking for what it is. Now I'm going to pop up my pros and my cons on the screen now. Please feel free to pause at your leisure so you can read those and digest them a little bit. But it is honestly quite hard to find many bad points about this bike, because it is just a pleasant, cute, lovely, modern retro, low powered bike that you can bimble around on and take in the scenery, take in everything. You don't feel like life passes you by too fast on this bike, and to me it is just the essence of biking and what that's all about. So yeah, I really, really enjoy this bike. It's lovely, it's just wonderful to ride. Guys and girls, have you ridden this bike? What do you think about it? I mean, for the price, new, it's really, really reasonable, but this bike has been out a fair bit now, so you could probably pick up some really, really well priced quality used out there in the second-hand market. Do you own one? Do you ride one? Do you like it? What do you like? What do you not like? Please let us know in the comments below. Share the love, share the knowledge, and we can all learn more together. But yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this vlog. I've enjoyed filming it, and I'll catch you all on the next one. Bye!